Alright, so I have both of my screens recording here, and we're going to be talking about Node.js and using Express, creating our server. So I'm going to sort of use the slides here a little bit. It goes along with the book. I'm also going to allow my slides to keep me honest in my coding so that we can make it pretty seamless here for you. Okay, so anyways, we are going to be talking about Node.js, which is the server. We're going to be working in this area right here, which is the server side. So basically what happens, or what we're talking about, is your client or a person on their computer decides to visit a website, and it gets in contact with the server, and then your server can then reach out to the database, pull back some data, and then return it to the client's browser. You know, the person that's sitting in a chair in a basement looking at your website, right? Whether that be a client logging in, creating a new user, all that reaches out to a server that's doing we call this the back end, and again, reaching out to a database and then producing the new login credentials for the client. Okay, so really quick here, the objectives here, we're going to start building our own API endpoints. We're going to get familiar with routes with Express. We're going to use tools that will test those endpoints, and we'll also start using SQL statements and utilizing SQLize in order to retrieve data. So by the end of this, we will know how to do all of this. Okay, so we're going to work at these in the modules, basically very similar to what you see in the book. So let's go ahead and start building the server. So again, feel free to code along with this. And I'm going to go ahead, I always do this whenever I'm starting a new project. I'm going to go ahead and open up a folder, and I am going to create a new folder, and I'm going to call this Blue Badge. Inside Blue Badge, I'm going to go ahead and create two folders here. I'm going to do client, and then I'm also going to back out. I'm also going to create the server. Okay. Because eventually I know that I'm going to have a client side of things, and that's going to be when we introduce React. For these videos here, starting out, and usually when you're creating your own project, you're going to start out in the server part first. Okay, but anyways, I'm going to go ahead for right now, just go ahead and click on Open. And inside of VS Code, our PowerPoint slideshow says we're going to have to do some initialization of some things. Okay, so as long as you're set up perfectly like me, you're going to go ahead and open up the terminal. You can solve that, I just drug that in, or you can do terminal, new terminal. Okay, and we're going to type in the following. Okay, on there it says npm init. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and type that, and you're going to see that it's going to prompt us for some things here. And for this, I'm going to go ahead and type in workout, and then I'm just going to hit enter on the following things: version, description, entry point, test commands, get repository, keywords, author, and license. Okay, everything looks good. And something that I want you to take notice of is over here, you're gonna start seeing some files being built for us. Okay, and everything looks good. Now we have a package.json. Cool. So we just created a package.json file, and we're going to continue to add to this as we need to. Okay, so all that looks perfect. Now the next thing here that we need to do is we need to go ahead and do some npm installing with what we plan on using. Okay, and what I have planned for this is we're going to go ahead and add in these packages as we need them. Okay, I know the book that we give you, the module that we give you, it's going to tell you to copy and paste that stuff in the JSON file, and I want to make sure that you guys understand what we're actually doing. Okay, so back to the slides here. Anytime we are doing something on a Mac compared to Windows, Mac users will always use the sudo npm install. Windows users do not have to use the sudo. Okay. These are the packages that we're going to be installing here in the future: bcrypt, body parser, .env, pg, hstore, sequelize, JSON Web Token, Express. Okay. And the way that Express here works, it allows us to essentially, when we get a request, it has a router function built into it so that it knows where to send things. Okay, so we're going to get into that here shortly. So the first package that we're going to install here is the Express. So in order to do that, we need to make sure that we are in the server folder. We are. Okay. And the next thing that we need to do is we need to create these files here. So I'm going to go ahead and create the files of .get ignore. Okay. And then I'm also going to go ahead and create a file called app.js. Okay. So we have that. Now the next thing that we need to do is Windows users, you need to do an npm install express. Mac users, we need to do sudo npm install express. Okay, so I'm on a Mac, so I'm going to type in the following: sudo npm install express. And it's going to ask me for my password. And again, you're not going to see the password move any. You're just going to have to try it. Okay. And there we go. All right, so it's loading. Take a look at the package.json file, and notice that dependencies is now added. So the slideshow sort of shows us that. And the other thing that we also notice is that we have this up here, which is node modules, and that's everything that Express needs in order to run, and anything else that we're going to be adding to this is going to be stored in this thing called node modules. Okay, basically it's a bunch of code that you don't have to write, and that allows us to take advantage of that. Okay, because basically every server setup has the exact same type of setup, and we're going to utilize that. Okay. So we have that, and then inside of our get ignore, we need to go ahead and add the following. So we're going to do node modules / and what we're doing here is we're saying when we push this to get, it's going to ignore this file. We don't need to push this because this file here is a bunch of stuff. Okay, and we don't need to push that to get because it's a waste of time, not only pushing the data but also retrieving it, because anytime somebody clones our repository, all they have to do is type the words in their terminal of npm install and it gets it all. Okay, all right, perfect. So we have that. Let's go ahead and take a look at what's next here. And next we're going to go ahead and start coding here. Okay, so let's go ahead in our app.js file. We're going to do the following. Okay, we're going to type out this here. We're going to do var express. Okay, so we're just naming express, and then we're going to say require. And then we're going to do express. Okay, and then the next thing that we do is we're going to go ahead and do another var app equals express, and then we're just going to close it off like that. Now the next thing that we need to do is we need to do an app.listen, and typically we use 3000 for the port, and inside here basically it does a callback, and we can do 3000 function curly brackets, and we can just do a console log of the app is running. Okay. App is listening on 3000. So couple things to note on this is, where are we getting this information from? So this all comes from the Express docs. So Express.js docs, right? So let's go ahead and take a look there. So there we go. So this all comes from the documentation for Express. I really like the documentation, by the way, with this. It does walk you through everything. But you can see here, these are the things that are required on every single time that you are going to create your own server. Okay, you definitely need a var express, require express, which means that we're pulling in every single thing that Express has to offer, and then we're tapping into it here, and we're just calling it app express, and then we need a listen there. Okay, so that's where we're at right now. Now let's go ahead and take a look at what we actually need to do next here. So it says in your terminal, type in the word here, node, and then app.js. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and do that. And you can see in the console log, we're listening on port 3000. And if we visit localhost, and then we'll do 3000, we should see something. Okay, so let's do 3000. And it says cannot get. All right, and that's what we should see. Okay, so we just finished up a few pages here of the book, where we are we npm installed Express. We are listening on port 3000, and we utilized the node app.js in order to view this. Something that I will bring up here to you is if you make any kind of changes, like if I want to do, forward listening on 3001, even though it's really not, okay, and save it, that effect will not come into play because if I, take a look at my console log here, I saved it, but I don't see anything. In order to get out of this, you do a Control-C, and that's the same on both Mac and Windows there. And then you have to, anytime you make changes, you would have to go and enter this again, nodeapp.js. And now you can see that the app is listening. Well, it says it's listening on 3001, although it is not. Okay, so this console log is just for us. Change that back to 3000. Go ahead and save it. And next, what we'll do here is we'll go ahead and take a look and see if there is something out there that we're able to utilize that will allow us to stop having to Control-C, because we're going to be saving a lot in this, okay? So we're going to take a look and see if someone else has came up with some npm package out there that we'd be able to tap into and use to save us some time, okay? So that's coming up next.